God, I hate that intro. Don't you hate that intro? I love my Kneel Before Zod, but apparently my StreamYards are crossed. Everything is fucked. Life is imploding. And to do one of these streams, which is why I haven't done a watch along, because me and PB are still trying to figure out how to unfuck my designated fucking channel. But welcome everybody. Um, this is a little impromptu, a little surprise.
Oh, you're cutting out. Could just be me.
Beautiful Jay here. I've got sirens going on in the back. It's the end of the fucking world. And thank you for everyone who's been watching my phone reviews. I've been doing them because this thing's been being a piece of shit. But for a long form talk we're about to have right now, cell phone doesn't do very well. And also check out my awesome uh, review. Finally, so Jay, I finally told the people. I've been asked for probably years what my actual favorite show is. They're like, you have all of these shows, but what's your favorite? Like, if you were held at gunpoint in a chair and you had to confess, and you watch so much TV, and you like Breaking Bad, you like The Sopranos, but what's your favorite show? And finally, and I dropped breadcrumbs through the years about this, but I guess no one picked it up, so I just laid it out today. Justified is my all-time favorite television show ever created. And as my journey, I did season 1 today, and
Ooh,
tomorrow I will be dropping part 2 to this long ass review, which will be season 2, and so on and so such till I get through 6 seasons. I'm currently was watching season 4 as we texted. I was like, fuck it, we'll just go live. Who cares about viewerships? YouTube isn't about views, it's about
right?
bonding and bringing people together.
Connect your YouTube account to join the live chat. Apparently, my StreamYard is fucked too.
So yeah, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. It's been being quite a little son of a bitch. So hopefully, we're just not talking in the ether. I did send this out and let people know that we are going live, and this is gonna be the start of a surprise series. But with Jay, I just gotta like throw this stuff on her until she realizes she doesn't have any choice. So it's kind of a surprise on what we're doing tonight. She doesn't even know. She was like, "Zod, what are we talking about?" I said, "Oh, you'll see. You'll
And
see."
now I'm nervous.
So before we get started, Jay, how's life been going? I heard you got some things to get off your chest, something to tell people
um,
about.
so I've been stranded at home kind of for like the last month and a half because I needed to do a full replacement of my transmission in the vehicle that I just bought like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I think. And so I had to do a full transmission. When they went in to do all the coding and shit, they discovered a shit ton of other issues. My total bill, let me tell you what my total bill was.
Oh, I'm bracing myself.
I just gotta find it. Hold on.
Oh, that bad. Whenever you have to look for something, that's never good, folks.
Yeah. Where'd it go? My grand total for all of the shit that was wrong with my car, $8,093.38.
I'd be a little salty too.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good news is my husband and I, after everything that we've been through the last, what, 2 years, we are making decent money. But the caveat to that is because we're making decent money, nobody wants to help me financially with any sort of financing or financial aid or anything like that. So it's been a little bit of a nightmare. And I actually just got a call from a military agency that's going to help me pay for the remainder of it. But I've myself paid already like $5,000 towards it, and it's the first time in a while that I've been able to pay for shit by myself. So I was like, I feel pretty damn good about that. And I have the money to pay off the rest of it, but somebody is going to help me so that I don't have to spend that money and I can use that money for, I don't know, the birthdays that my children have this month.
You know, it's amazing because uh, they prepare you for a lot of things, but one thing that they just don't prepare you for is the world when you get done with everything and
Yep.
all of the shit you're gonna have to go through. Um, that sucks. And
Yep.
you know what would help you out if people go on Amazon and they support your book so that you can get these things. Shameless promo. And also too, while we're at it, just go to moviepalette.com, buy yourself a movie palette. Hold on a second. This is an on-air thing where my lovely lady is calling me. Has to be important.
Oh,
So there we go. Hold on.
well, I don't even know if anybody's here, but hi if you are. I just put candy in my mouth and he got this phone call. Rude. Um, sorry. Um, yeah, so it's been a little bit of a whirlwind. So, yes, please get your movie palette and also buy my book if you would like. It's literally $5.50, I think, on Amazon. I have a couple other books that are published right now. I will actually, that's what I was doing, was about to drop my Amazon link in case anybody is interested. Um,
Sorry about that. There's a tornado coming our way, and the lovely lady was making sure that I wasn't doing anything where I could be electrocuted or
oh,
something to that effect. And
nothing.
I said, oh, I'm just streaming. So if I die, I'll die either talking to two people or there's no one here, and I'm gonna die no one. So I do this for you, the fans.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we actually I heard from my 15-year-old that we had a tornado touchdown like 2 hours away from me, where a couple people died. So I hope they rest in peace. But oof, I hate storms. I hate storms. I hate storms. I hate storms. So that was the one thing that my life has been throwing at me. Get your movie palette. I know I already said that, but do it. um, the other thing is um a delicate topic that I don't know how to really get into without sounding like an asshole.
Well, I've had enough Jack Daniels. Let's just jump into this heartfelt. By the way, this is a totally random stream. We'll get to our actual topic, but we're just venting to you guys. We're telling you about life. So if
Yeah.
you're enjoying this, give us a hey in the comments, or if you don't give a shit, just give us a thumbs up in the comments, anyways. So what is this delicate topic? Let's open up because YouTube is the best
Pandora's
place.
box.
It's like that one scene from Scrubs where he asks Carla what she's feeling, and her face opens up like the Ark of the Covenant, and his face
Yeah.
melts. Fucking love that show. This is
Yes.
so true.
Um, so I have always had an issue with religion, okay? And I do not care. Let me tell you how I feel from the beginning. I do not care who you follow. I do not care what you worship. I do not care that you go to church. I don't give a shit. Do what you got to do. Get your ass into heaven. Do what you got to do. However, when that same respect is not reciprocated to me, it gets really frustrating. And so, honestly, I haven't had this problem ever since I was a child, really, because my parents originally were supposed to be Catholic.
Oh, that Catholic guilt.
Yeah, they were supposed to be Catholic, and they are not Catholic anymore. And we found out that we don't fit in at church when we went to, because I live in a small ass town where everybody knows everybody. We all graduate together. We all have inherited our parents' houses in the town. Like, we know each other way more than we probably should. And
Just for personal reference, this is an Alabama story.
you know,
Hold on.
um, no. And so there's this church in the town that I live in. And my parents and I, so my grandma would come and stay with us for the winter for while she was getting older. And when my grandfather passed away, she would stay with us every year. And she would go, she loved this little church in our little town, and she would go all the time. And my parents one day, they're like, huh, let's go to church with her. So they go they go to church with my grandma for, like, the first time ever. My eye is really itchy, I am so sorry. Um, and literally we walk in, and all small town people, they just kinda looked at my parents like, "The fuck are you doing here?"
Hold
And
on,
my parents
before you continue, because I actually have this kind of experience. Hello, Carmen. Good to see you.
"Oh,
Yes,
we have
sexy
somebody?
eyes
Hi,
and
Carmen."
voice. Yeah, we'll get people coming in. So before you continue, I've had this experience myself where uh, people have this thing where you are outcasted and a pariah if you have not been to church every Sunday. And
Mhm.
now, small town, people talk, maybe things you've done, things you haven't done, things you've done in your personal life,
Right.
because they separate you from your family after a certain point. And so I get where this story is coming from because about 5 or 6 years ago, I went back to upstate New York to my family church we used to go to, not Catholic, Christian, but
Mhm.
same shit, different day. And you would have thought that the Antichrist had walked into the church and that it was getting ready to be set ablaze because my presence, given my history in New York, let's just say, I was a lot more colorful before I saw the light. So, yeah, I get that feeling. So you walk in,
Mhm.
you get the shifty eyes, probably people mumbling under their breath, people
Yeah.
talking shit. So, what'd you do? What happened next? This is compelling.
Yeah, so this was when I was a child, so this isn't even the new shit that I'm dealing with right now. So this is when I was a child, so I've always had issues like that, and I've always been I call myself pagan or, something like to that effect, but I used to at least. I'm not really into that anymore, but basically what I do is I thank the earth for giving us her bountiful life. I thank the air that we breathe, and I thank the universe for whatever the fuck is going on. And I follow like the laws of attraction and like traditional Chinese medicine, like sound healing, like natural nature shit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like it's not like I'm over here like carving pentagrams and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's literally
Yeah, everybody has their different beliefs in religion. And I just
yeah.
want to say before we get into this, because this is always a touchy subject, no matter when we're talking. Look,
Yeah.
uh, this is a personal story, and whatever religious beliefs, political beliefs, whatever you have, uh, they are your own. And here in the
Mhm.
Phantom Zone, we are all inclusive, baby,
Right.
and
And I
stop
don't
the
care.
Asian hate. Yeah, but no, this is
Like
interesting. So continue because from the outcome from the other end, I am Christian.
mhm.
But I do believe, and this is in any group, and this is really with anything in life. You got some people who are just cool. I think the whole
Mhm.
thing's good. Do you? You got other people who are like, well, you're gonna burn in hell. Get the
Yeah.
barbecue ready.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And everybody thinks we're in the fucking rapture right now. And so it's like of the people in my life that I've been friends with and have like really deep, meaningful like relationships, like battle buddy relationships with, or like I would die for them, they would die for me, like type friendships are kind of like turning around and they're really fully embracing their faith. And I'm totally down with that. Like I am totally down with that. Like, my daughter has a best friend and they are very, very religious. And they're always like weird about me and they're like, well, we don't want you to feel like we're trying to push anything on your kid and blah blah blah. And I'm like, take her to church. Take her to church. Like expose her to all of this shit. I want my kids to make their own decisions for what feels right to them. I like we don't talk about religion in my house. We absolutely do not because we're not going to push anybody into one way or the other. The most I do in my house, burn some incense, read some tarot cards, maybe do some candles and thank the universe. Like that's what I do. I don't sit here and have like religious connections because it's not I'm not going to push any of that. Like you know what I mean? And so when I experienced this stuff recently, I was like I don't know how to handle this stuff because I always treat people with light, love, and kindness. Like why can't we just treat each other with light, love, and kindness? Like, why does it have to be a, well, like, and I have so many other issues with like religion too, that like there are like ABUSE allegations all over the place. Like, you know what I mean? Very much in religious sectors. And it's like, I don't feel comfortable. Like, I know that's not like what defines a religion or anything like that, but the amount of stories that I hear from my friends that were actually in like religious schools or whatever, it's freaking terrifying. And I don't know, I I don't appreciate when people try to make me feel like I'm less than them just because I don't have this higher power thing. Like, you know what I mean? And so that's my biggest struggle right now is I don't need a higher power to validate or empower me. I validate and empower myself, and I work hard for everything I get, and I know that I live a very bountiful and blessed life. Like, I have my kids are wonderful kids, and I'm not just saying that because I'm their parent, but like you know what I mean? Like, I have a straight A student. I have another kid who is in the LGBTQ community and is amazing and loving and kind regardless of their Gemini ass. You know what I'm saying? And like, and then my youngest child is he is the like most kind, compassionate. Like, we found a dead bird in my yard like a year ago, 2 years ago now, and we buried it, and I returned it to the earth. And so I buried it. We said a prayer over it. We said, return you back to the earth. We love you, blah blah blah. And it's been 2 years, and still every single day, every week maybe, my kid will go out there on his way to school and be like, bye baby bird, love you. And it's like, I must be doing something right. Like, like, it's so like I'm gonna cry because I'm so frustrated because it's like there's so many people in this world that just want to be so hateful, and they want to hide behind their little motherfucking god, and they want to be like, oh, he forgives me, he supports me, he loves me, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about what this dude or girl or whatever does for you. Good for you. I'm glad that you feel comfortable in your environment, in yourself, in your skin, in your life, in your faith. I am glad. Get your ass into heaven. Just like I told my daughter's best friend's mother, I said, take her to church, expose her. If she came to me and was like, "Oh my God, Jesus saved me," blah blah blah, I'd be like, "Yes, bitch, get your ass in heaven." Like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
I think it's becoming a thing, and this is very interesting and not. Welcome to the random show. This is tongue in cheek. We talk about shit here, people, and if you're enjoying this, hit that like button, share things. If I all of a sudden disappear, it's because there might be a tornado out back, but
same
Zod
here.
keeps going.
Same
But
here.
this is my feelings on this. I have been a Christian since, and anyone who's popping in or catches this at 1902, 3, 4, whatever the fuck time we're on. When I was in the service, I went to Africa. I actually got malaria. Those fucking pills are bullshit. Fuck
Mm,
you, they don't work.
ugh.
I had damn near 100 fever, like delusional, almost died. Now, people could say this was a delusion, but why I choose to believe in the big man, the man upstairs, Jesus, the Lord, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
is because, and I don't talk about this often, but we open this door, so we might as well walk through it.
We're getting deep and vulnerable, okay?
I almost died. I was I was on the IV drip. I was touch and go. I was between life and death, and it's not an easy thing to talk about,
Mhm.
but uh, I feel it relevant to this subject. So I I don't know if it was hallucination, a dream. You can call it whatever you want to. I just know the feeling I got from it. And I was walking in a field of bodies, and they started pulling me down. And then a bright light and something came out of the light, pulled me back up. And it was wings, angel wings. And
Mhm.
now you could say I was hallucinating. You can interpret that however the fuck you want. I interpret it as I went to church when I came home from leave at my best friend's church and I got born again. Okay, that's how
Mhm.
I took that route in my life. But here's the thing, and I want to stress this, people. There are two different types of religious people. There
Mhm.
are those who I believe that religion has saved them. And you don't got to believe the same thing, but it's the concept, it's the
Right.
belief. People have to have something to believe in and something positive. But there's those people who take that and twist the messaging and use it
Mhm.
to do fucked up shit. And it's kind of funny you'd bring this up because that's going to go into our larger topic here in a second.
Fate.
So it's very fortuitous that we would be talking about this whole thing because I don't think that offering somebody the opportunity to indulge in your religion is necessarily wrong. Like, hey, man,
Agreed.
there's a church up here. You ain't got to be with that shit, but come and join me. And if you're about it and you're cool with it, cool. Welcome aboard. And
Right.
then there's those people, and I have a best friend, been my friend since high school. He went blind, and I mean fucking blind. Mr. Magoo couldn't see shit. He had 3 surgeries that had about a 30% chance of giving him his eyesight. He's got this day 90% of his eyesight back. It's only, I think, his right or left eye where he's got loss in it. And hey, Neon, haven't seen you, but here, welcome.
That's my best friend's husband.
Now, now he since this happened, he was kind of lost and stuff. He became a preacher. Now, he is one of those people, sadly, who will tell you you're going to hell unless you seek the guidance of the Lord in that. That's the profession he went into. I get it. Is it fucking annoying? Yes. But do I understand where he's coming from? I do.
Yeah.
And I don't be besmirch him that because I was with him through doctors telling him once because he's type 3 diabetic, he was going to die and he wasn't going to make it
Mhm.
past our high school years. And then when he beat that, doctors telling him, you're never going to see again. So uh, I got to at least acknowledge that somebody is definitely looking
Yeah.
over him. But at the same token, I don't believe that it is right for people to push their views on other people. It is okay to suggest things, but the thin line between suggestion and being an
Mhm.
absolutely annoying fuck about it, and we don't hold nothing back here in the Phantom Zone.
Right.
Welcome. There's a very thin line, and it's just like you believe in what you believe in, I believe what I
Right.
believe in, but those two things have never like I don't look at you and go tarot cards is bullshit. That's devil
Right.
sage, and talking to you, I'm burning in hell. You've known me for a
Mhm.
while. That's not my style. I'm like,
Right.
hey, cool. I'm always down to experience new things because at the end of the day, whether you look at Christian scripture or you look at
Mhm.
what you subscribe to. I don't know where your
Yeah.
lore is at. I call it lore. You
We
could
don't
get
have
fucking
any.
pissed at me if you want to. But the Bible is lore. And half of
Mhm.
it, folks, spoiler alert, is parables. The Bible is a book of parables and good
Mhm.
suggestions for your life. Now, do I believe some of the stories might be true? But look at how true stories are shot nowadays. Unless you were the
Mhm.
fucking person there, we don't know all the facts and how everything went down. So I
Mhm.
believe I refuse to believe that a book written 1,000 years ago is 100% accurate, but I think
Especially since they keep fucking rewriting it. That's
yes,
my
if it's
issue.
supposed to be the word, it should be one word, not a
Exactly.
revisionist.
That's my issue with that specifically is because there was somebody, I can't remember who it was. Knox Hill. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. He's amazing. Follow him, please. Um, Knox Hill was talking about he dissects song lyrics and he like talks about all the different like, things in the layers in the triple entendres and all the bullshit. He was talking about this one rapper's like rap. It was like basically kind of like a scripture type of thing, but it was like I can't remember what the story, Gorga something like that. But it was like he was talking about how there was a lot of stuff that's in the actual Bible that never made it to like the New Testament, that so like people have been parsing like bits and pieces, and so he was like talking about his religious back because he's a history buff like me, which is why I like him. And so that's why I like his content, because he goes through and he does like whenever there's like history involved, he like understands it, and he can explain like the different things that he's done and learned in his research and stuff like that. And it was actually really, really fascinating to hear him talking about all of the stories that were missing. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I was just thinking about it, and it's just, and that's my issue with that specific topic, is because of the fact that they keep changing it and they keep updating it. And the other issue I have with it is the having control over women aspect, that they, not that I'm a feminist, but I don't think we should control other people in general, not just as a woman. You know what I mean?
I
So,
think
yeah.
that things are misinterpreted, and much like everything,
Mhm.
I think that people have taken their own interpretations of what's saying. There's an interesting thing. Now, everybody feels like they need to go to church. And I'll be honest with you, I'll go to a church that I find fits me as a
Mhm.
person. But there is a paragraph or a saying in the Bible. And look, I'm not the biggest scripture guy, so don't
Yeah.
ask me for the fucking quotes and Psalms or whatever. But I do remember the quote, and it says, the the house of the Lord is everywhere, meaning that you are not confined to a building. That what you choose to believe in and what you choose to where you choose to praise God can be anywhere. It's
Mhm.
not There's nothing saying you have to give your pasture the collection basket to go to somewhere to be fucking judged by people because you do certain things they don't and they're a better Christian than you. And I think a lot of it has become competitive on who's doing what, like adding up
Mhm.
points. And if you look at everything the Bible says, it's not about that. It's about worrying about yourself, and that got
Mhm.
lost in translation
Yeah.
a lot. And speaking of organizations and things that are shitty, that kind of prey off of people's insecurities and has good theories but twist them to manipulate people, that kind of neatly brings me along to something that I wanted to talk about that I think you'd find interesting. And this is called a surprise topic for a reason. Because this week I wanted to cover something that I told Jackie I was going to dive into one day. And I wanted to start with not my favorite show, but a show I thoroughly enjoy. Um, you guys know my favorite show. Go check out my Justified video. That's only season one, folks. We got 6 more left, and I'm on 4. I'm giving you an in depth breakdown. So go check it out. I'm very proud of that video. I pretty much had nothing bad to say for about an hour and a half straight. So if you're into my movie breakdown stuff, and I've been
Are you
shooting on my
okay?
cell
Did you get knocked out?
phone. No, no. I'm good. I'm good. But I wanna kind of highlight something that I think folks will find interesting. So we're gonna do a little watch along. I haven't done these in a while, uh, uh, and we're going to watch something that I think folks will find very fascinating. And talking about religion and manipulation, I wanted to bring up a video from a YouTuber and definitely credit them. Check out their stuff. It's called Coffee and Cults. So let's talk about a cast that I find very interesting. And when I
Scientology?
was,
Are we talking about Scientology?
oh, it plays a big part in this story. So I've been meaning to dive into Scientology. Now, while I am a man who is accepting of all things, religious and all different things, Scientology is bullshit. And if you're part of that, you're a fucking weirdo and get the fuck out of here. I don't need that drama. I do not accept that. I think the concept is fucking nuts. And honestly, I think it's a pyramid scheme. You want to weigh in on this?
Yes. So
Is there any redeeming qualities
it's
in?
actually really, really funny. I have been following, so here's a channel you need to check out. I think I've already given it to you, but I'll give it to you again. Down the Rabbit Hole News and BJ Investigates, obviously, that surprise witness. They've been tackling Scientology off and on here and there. The whole P. Diddy stuff is taking over, obviously. But Down the Rabbit Hole News is amazing, and she is actually friends with a lot of the people that are part of the Scientology protests that have been going on. Um, and that information, there's a bunch of people that have left Scientology that are actually, it's so funny that we're talking about this because I'm like, yeah, I know about this topic. um, but there's a bunch of people that have left Scientology that are now working towards trying to get it taken down. And it's a beautiful thing. It's the most beautiful thing I've seen on YouTube since Deb V Heard. Like, there's so many people, so many channels, so many real life people and experiences that are discussed. And I think this is freaking beautiful.
So I'm throwing my hat in the ring, and if you guys haven't checked it out, go check out. Me and Les did a video about the Nexium cult, and this spurred my interest in talking about these because these cults and things are very big. And I just like to say, Jay, you're not in a cult, so until you do some weird shit, I am not going to be the one to cast stones, as it be. But I wanted to bring up that 70s shows. It's widely known, people know it, and we're going to look at what happened to them. And the reason why I'm bringing this into a Scientology discussion, because it's quite fascinating, because that man right there, if you don't know, this man just received 30 years. And we're going to get into the fucked up shit he did. And by the way, viewer discretion is advised if you are sensitive towards the topics of SA, date rape, things like that. Danny Masterson's a piece of shit. We're going to talk about that, but this ties into Scientology. And through the week, I would like to do these kind of discussions to break down the different facets. And there's a hero amongst this. Leah Remy was one of the first people to kind of use her fame. And I like the term for this platform to actually do something useful. And I
Mm-hmm.
think, and I don't think that this is going on a limb to say she really got the ball rolling
Mm-hmm.
as far as this. And I was waiting for it because this piece of shit, and this also confirms my thing with Bryan Cranston being the coolest person in the world. We're gonna get to him. He plays a part in this little saga with Danny
Mm-hmm.
Masterson's brother, who was on
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm in the Middle, and how fucking cool Bryan Cranston is, because Bryan Cranston is firmly against Scientology and would not have that
Mm-hmm.
shit, and protected everybody on the set of that show. But we'll get to that. So Bryan
Yeah.
Cranston, real life Walter White. Uh, he was like, "Say my name, you goddamn right." Anyways, sorry. Breaking Bad flashbacks. Love that show. Check it out.
Yes.
Anyways, so we're going to get into this, and this is interesting because if you guys don't know, you have Ashton Kutcher, James Masterson, Mila Kunis, whatever the fuck Donna's name was. I'm just gonna call her Donna. Her real name is too fucking hard for me to remember.
Yep.
You have Topher Grayson. Now Topher was casted out for a long time, and I was part of that community, the fans of that 70s show. Yes, people, I was a fucking nerd, okay? I like anime shit like that. I'm also bad at. I got layers like real people. Anyways, that's not the
Yeah,
point.
because you're a human being with your own thoughts and opinions and bodily autonomy.
Actually a Kryptonian, but I've taken her
Whatever.
form, so whatever. Uh
Same thing.
so anyways, I just fly and shoot laser beams. It's fine. Anyways, the the whole thing that's intriguing about this is Topher Gracer was ostracized, and some people thought he was an arrogant asshole. But the story unfolds because he did not hang out with his castmates from that 70s show. However, it's been widely documented that he did hang out with the cast of other productions he was a part of in the movies, and everybody got along with him. So, what was the big thing he didn't want to hang out with this cast that
Scientology?
he
Could it be
spent almost
Scientology?
8 years with? So, let's dig into this because this is awesome. And we're going to start with welcoming you to the glorious show that was that 70s show. Because despite the pieces of shit that were on it, it was a pretty funny show. Love that show.
Yep.
Definitely check it out.
very close. And of course, because Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis are now married, they're kind of a little trio a lot of the time. Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, when they worked on the show, they apparently absolutely despised each other. This could be the age difference, because one of the most known trivia facts about that 70s
Yo, let
show
me find
is
Hi,
one.
that
Elkie.
Mila Kunis was actually 14 when she was cast on the show. They did
So
one.
something I want to highlight really quick, and that's going to be a running theme as we watch this video and critique and dive into all of the facets. And I'm starting with that 70s show because it's the most popular, and the shit you guys find out is going to shock you. And they're going to break down every single cast member and the fucked up shit they're accused of. Mila Kunis is kind of a sad addition to this because when she got this role, and this is going to be a running theme for Masterson, the dude who plays Fez, I believe, Mershar something,
Yeah.
and Ashton, is that they all seem to go after underage girls.
Yep.
And they'll get into the Scientology philosophy of this. They police themselves. And here's where I have a problem. You can say what you want about the Catholics and the Christians or whatever, have your different
Mm-hmm.
beliefs. We dove into that. But anybody who chooses to keep stuff in house, that's where you cross the line, or policing themselves. That's where you get into a situation where this is very sketchy. Is that good? So keep in mind, and most people don't know this, Mila Kunis, when she got this role, despite how old she looks, because I did not fucking know this, she
Mm-hmm.
was 14 years old.
Yep.
She was actually the youngest in that whole cast. Danny Masterson was the oldest in that cast, and the rest of them were somewhere in between. So I want you to keep it in the back of the mind when you hear the fact that Ashton Kutcher, who's older than her, married her years later. Just
Yep.
think about that, because this shit is gonna get wild. Half the fucking shit, and I'm not even all the way through. So I'll be surprised with you. We'll probably break this up because it's long. I started off like 11 minutes in, but it's an hour and 41 minutes. So we might break this into two parts. Oh,
I got about 45 minutes left, just so you know. Oh, you froze. Yeah. He's frozen, so I will just kind of explain. So basically, Scientology. I don't know how far he wants me to get into it, but I'll just kind of start talking about it. For those of you that don't know about Scientology, it's basically the entire rhetoric is built upon a convicted um uh predator, I believe. If I remember correctly, I don't remember what his exact charges were. Um but he is basically oh, hope he's okay. Okay, I'll carry it. Yeah, so Zod is in the middle of the tornado belt right now that's happening. I have a thunderstorm behind me, so I might have to jump off here too, but I'll carry it and see if he can come back. I got about 45 minutes left. But basically, um go to Down the Rabbit Hole News for one, and so Down the Rabbit Hole News, That Surprise Witness, BJ Investigates, what's another channel? Surviving, what is she called? Give me 1 second. Um, oh, Scientology, Life After a Cult. That's another channel. She is somebody that actually was in Scientology and left, and is trying to find a way to get other people out. Um, so Scientology, I'll put that in the chat. Life After a Cult. And she basically talks about how she escaped, like literally escaped. And there's a bunch of people that are leaving, trying to figure out how to make this better for everybody else. One of the main points, the reason why I personally have an issue with Scientology is the there's no one of the things is there's no children in Scientology. So they basically view everybody as an adult no matter how old you are, and they kind of train you as such basically, but basically it's kind of like a manipulation so that they can control you. um I am not a huge follower of the story. Like I said, I was kind of following it for a while when I was watching Down the Rabbit Hole news, and then I got distracted by all of the Dan Schneider stuff and then the P. Diddy stuff. So I know like minimal information. Your best bet would be to go to, because I think Down the Rabbit Hole news has an actual like Scientology playlist. And she goes through and she actually interviews people that left Scientology. It's very fascinating, very important information, and I think that um getting more people aware of the situation will be life-saving for the people that are still in. Hey, you okay?
Yeah. So there was a weird powder outage. Police started coming outside. Shit started going off in my neighborhood. I'm okay though. I think I heard fire trucks. So I don't know what the fuck happened outside, but that was crazy shit, man. Like I was like, holy fuck, man. Like
I wonder if somebody hit like a power pole or something.
I don't know. I think someone hit something, and for a second I got the flicker, and then all of a sudden it was like, nah, we're good, we're good. Don't worry about it. I
Ooh.
apologize for that, folks. That shit was nuts.
It sounds nuts. Like, I'm, like, worried for you now. Like, my stomach is, like, all in knots, and I'm like, "You need to go downstairs."
No, it was wild. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, Zod got zapped by lightning, but we can't tell the difference.
Anyway, I was just explaining some of the stuff I know about Scientology. I don't know if you heard. Um,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
I
So,
I I heard they are very sketchy people,
mhm.
and as I was saying, this is gonna get to that. I hopefully the problem should be fixed. I don't hear any sirens or anything, so Godspeed. I won't get interrupted during this, and so yeah. We were starting off with this. Mila Kunis was 14 when she got this role.
Yes.
And Ashton Kutcher actually cheated on Demi Moore with Mila Kunis. Spicy, right? And look, out of everyone, Ashton's sins is not as bad as the ones we're gonna get into, but it's still kind of weird that even then there were talks of him and her and their
Well,
sort of
wasn't the story that she lied to be like she lied, making them think she was older than she actually was, but then they found out
yeah,
later or something? So my
yeah.
question is, when did they all find out?
And you're gonna get all the answers. And boy, we're going down a rabbit hole. This is very interesting. Barring that I don't get struck with lightning or the shit
Yeah.
doesn't turn off again. So
Like I
here
said
we
earlier,
go.
Be
though,
18,
I only
but
have 40
just didn't
minutes left.
specify when she was
Okay,
going to
well,
be 18. I think
that's good to know.
everyone who knows anything about that 70s show knows that story. But now
Yep.
people are looking back and seeing the problematic things about it, because at the time they even were doing interviews that years later they come across completely inappropriate, with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis appearing on the Rosie O'Donnell show and talking about Mila's first kiss, where Masterson was placing a bet that Ashton Kutcher couldn't stick his tongue down Mila's throat, which, considering she was 14 and he was 19, it doesn't look the greatest. And
Like, look at
even
her.
a lot of the people
She
associated with the
now that
shows,
I
like
know,
producers, they
she
are
looks
now
young. Like, now that I know that, she looks young.
in those photos, she had the pigtails. Like,
Yeah.
bro. And we're gonna get into Masterson because like literally she puts on the thumbnail monster. Go check her out if you haven't, because I hate watching people's videos and not crediting them. But I watch them because they do a lot of in-depth review, and some of the shit I hear is quite wild. And I think it's important because don't worry. I know what you guys are thinking. Well, what does this? Don't worry. Scientology is going to play its special guest role. It's a pretty big part into the shit, but I want to give you guys some background because there's already questionable things. I want you to keep that in your mind because this shit gets wild.
even saying that on some special editions and true Hollywood story type things that have come out over the last 10 years or so.
She was actually working in the back of the Vista Cruiser with Kelso after a concert as a pilot. You know, knowing that now, it just looks unseemly. But there's Ashton Kutcher with his hands all over this 14-year-old. It's like we're doing boogie nights. It's really weird.
There's a lot of interviews that have been scrubbed, but there's a few remaining of just little things that Mila Kunis says that really point towards inappropriate behavior on set. And Chrissy Bixler, who is Danny Masterson's ex-girlfriend of nearly his entire run on that 70s show and one of his accusers, she said that Mila Kunis went through a lot on that set because she was surrounded with Danny Masterson, Ashton Kutcher, and Wilder Valderrama at the height of their fame. Even Kunis herself stated a few bizarre things in interviews. Although many of these interviews have been scrubbed from the internet, you can see echoes of the treatment Kunis endured on the set of that 70s show in her behavior today. For example, there was an interview from several years ago where Kunis was being interviewed by James Franco. In the interview, they discussed Franco's new movie, This Is the End, that came out in 2013. Franco and Kunis discussed the apprehension of a then 20...
And I just want to bring up, too, that James Franco has a guest appearance.
Yeah.
Jesus, like, this is so crazy to think because Franco is a piece of shit. And he's interviewing Mila Kunis who's surrounded by a bunch of pieces of shit. And like, look, out of everyone, I would say she's the one I kind of consider more of a victim in this story because you could tell the conditioning that has gone in with that environment where you kind of get to a point where you're like, if I say something, I come off as a bitch, and I want to be that girl who's known as one of the guys. And that's the biggest myth. It's like, you don't have to be like that to have that title. You could just be you.
Right.
And guys find that cool that you can roll with that stuff. But this was more of Hollywood bullshit and the conditioning and the manipulation. And make no mistake, all of these fuckers deploy manipulation, and we'll get into Fez or William Serene, whatever the fuck. He's the biggest. And you will be shocked at the people he dated, because I had no fucking clue. But every one of them he dated was underage at the time and are all famous people you know. It's going to shock you because I had no clue
year-old Emma
the names that are
Watson
on his
to
list.
do a scene.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned as we attempt to commune with the devil.
It's great.
She was uncomfortable with, involving the on average decade older group of Seth Rogen, Danny McBride, James Franco, Jonah Hill, Craig Robinson, and Channing Tatum. Watson was so uncomfortable that she walked off the set. Seth Rogen, who also directed the film, later came out and said Watson was right and they changed the scene. He said there was no bad blood. She promoted the film despite only having a minor cameo type role, and everyone was very thankful to have her there, as this was one of her first handful of films after the Harry Potter series. It came out just after The Perks of Being a Wallflower and The Bling Ring. When interviewing Kunis,
Both
Franco
Noah and
discusses Watson being uncomfortable with
were
the
terrible.
scene and walking off. Although Franco does not name Watson, it is extremely obvious who he is talking about because he names the film and because there are no other women in the main cast. Mila Kunis talks poorly about Emma Watson and uses herself, Mila, as an example of a woman who would just put up with any behavior. It seems very obvious that Kunis's response to Franco and her general take throughout this interview and many other interviews I've seen, it seems as though Kunis has been conditioned by that 70s show to just turn a blind eye and be the cool girl. Kunis has learned that if she were to say no to something, express her limits, or discuss her desire to not be around certain behavior, she would be labeled a bitch and spoken about the exact same way that she and Franco are speaking about Emma Watson. I want to share a clip from my favorite podcast, Do We Know Them, where the hosts Lily Morrison and Jessie Smiles discuss Kunis's behavior and her seeming desire to not kick up a fuss and forever be known as the cool girl above all else.
Think about even in like as a non-actor or celebrity TV show setting. If you're a girl around a bunch of guys and they're making a bunch of crude jokes and you're like the butt of the joke, you aren't going to be like, oh my God, fuck all of you, stop saying that. Because the second you kind of fight back, then you're the bitch and everyone is gonna just go harder and hate you. So in my eyes, it's very clear that Mila really leaned into being like the guy's girl. And she's like, this cool, she'll roll with the punches, she's cool with whatever. But she had to be, because the second she wouldn't have been, she would have been the difficult actress. It would have isolated her, I think, from a lot of the cast. And instead,
and here's the thing I want to highlight. We talk about difficult actresses like, say, my love-hate relationship between me and Brie Larson. That's catty, unnecessary. You could tell she's kind of a bitch. And there's a difference between that. But there's this difficult actress label that I feel like is coming out more with maybe female celebrities and women celebrities that didn't want to do some of these things. So they get this stigma in Hollywood that's like a code word. Difficult to work with. And I think that's a bullshit term because there's also guys who are difficult to work with. Terrence Howard is famously known. Great fucking actor, but I hear he's an absolute fucking prick and very hard to work with. Like, you have it on both ends of the spectrum, but I feel like it's kind of becoming more clear the different labels that these people are using. And this has been done for years in Hollywood, that they're using for women who won't go along with these things. And now seeing this thing with Mila Kunis, I start to go, wow, this explains a whole lot. So let's just jump. I want to jump into Wilmer
Valderrama.
Valderrama. The shit this guy has done.
Before we get to that, the best way to understand the difficult actress thing is to research Jennifer Lawrence. She had an interview where I can't remember if it was like I can't remember what show it was, but she had an interview where she was talking about one of the movies that she did, and there was a scene or something happened that she was not comfortable with, and she tried to express that, and she got that same label, and if you research some of it, I haven't gotten fully into the rabbit hole yet, but there was some stuff that I was like, oh damn, because I mean, me personally, again, I'm not a feminist by any means. I don't think anybody should control anybody or subdue anybody, regardless of gender. And my issue is when you have situations like actresses in Hollywood that aren't comfortable, but they feel like they have no other way to progress their career because they will be blacklisted. Like, legitimately, Jennifer Lawrence was, if I remember correctly, I could be thinking of somebody else, but she was legitimately blacklisted for a little while after that production. And she was like, I don't understand. Everybody was nice to me up until that point, so I don't get why I'm this difficult actress. And as somebody who was a female in the military,
I just want to add on to that I've never been a fan of Jennifer Lawrence because of her wildly political differences from mine and
Yeah.
some of the stupid shit she said about that. But I don't think even with my differences as far as how we view things, like I do remember those stories. And Katherine Heigl was another one
Yep.
that got
Yep. That's another
blacklisted
one.
because she wouldn't do stuff like that too. And I think that there's a fine line between an actor who talks shit and you're like, oh, just shut the fuck up and do your job,
Right.
versus somebody who is legitimately being blackballed and blacklisted. And Hollywood would have us believe with all this progressive bullshit they put out that they're trying to solve the problem. But this
Yeah.
shit has been happening in Hollywood since its inception.
Yep.
The casting couches, the stuff like that. And folks,
Yep.
watch my review on Baby Reindeer and then go watch that movie, because Richard Gat's story about his experience, and this is a guy now. And I found it pretty powerful because we don't get very many males who, I'm sure there's a lot, but they don't just come forward. But
Yeah. Males don't ever report.
he was stalked by a crazy woman, and he was sexually assaulted in his career by an exec, promised all these things, didn't get nothing, went back to the guy years later after he got famous for having a mental breakdown on stage and confessing everything. And people were like, oh shit. And then the dude offered him a serious role, and that's how he got famous. And people look at that story and they go, well, didn't you send the guy to jail? Why did you choose to become famous? And it's like,
Yep.
because what's going to happen? What's going to happen to these people? And I agree
Yep.
with him. Get famous off of him. Fuck it. You're not going to see that man's not going to go to jail.
Yep.
He's going to be a lawyer. He's going to drag it out. You don't got the money to fight it. No, his victim
Mm-hmm.
telling the story, and I would encourage everybody to go on Netflix and watch that show. It's but there is a warning. They don't show anything, but it gets very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely watch the show because it's a very intriguing look at two broken people and that whole subject and how
Mm-hmm.
factors into things and the world of fame. And it's not just actors, comedians, singers, all of them.
Yeah. Drake Bell. Drake Bell was another one. He was abused, and then his abuser went on to work for Disney after spending like little to no time in jail.
I mean, Drake Bell's a piece of shit still.
Yeah, but that doesn't change the fact what he went through.
It doesn't change what he went through, but I'm also of the mind. I respect Richard Gatt because he chose to tell a story. I don't respect Drake Bell because he perpetuated the cycle.
I agree.
And I do believe there's a fine line between, okay, you're a victim, I feel terrible for you, but what happens is there's this circular cycle of abuse that continues, and only you could be that person to change that. If you perpetuate it, then you have become the very thing that you despise on some level in yourself. And I think that something like you would say, putting negativity out into the world is not going to get any positivity back. You're just spreading it.
Holy shit, you're learning from me.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Sometimes a villain has to evolve. So speaking of negativity, let me get you, this is going to shock you. When you hear the people this man has dated and then track their trajectory, it's all going to make sense. You're not going to believe the names of the people this dude dated. I could not believe it. Fez?
Before we get into Danny Masterson's crimes, Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis, I want to talk about Wilder Valderrama and his pattern of dating underage girls. Wilder has had 3 very public relationships with underage girls, or he started dating them when they were underage. And the first of these was Mandy Moore. I'm sure most people who follow anything about the That 70s Show cast, or even if you don't, you could have heard of this. There was a Howard Stern interview that Wilder Valderrama did, and he was really vulgar about Mandy Moore. And I understand that Howard Stern is not the sort of show that you go on to talk about puppies and random things like you would on Ellen, but he got really graphical on Howard Stern and also just blatantly lied, according to Mandy Moore anyway. So Wilmer was saying he was the first to sleep with Mandy, and then Mandy later came on the show and said that wasn't true at all, and she
And
was really
I just
taken
love
aback
her. She's
by it
so
all because
positive.
they were
Like,
still pretty friendly. He met Mandy Moore at a photo shoot and started dating when she was 15 and he was almost 20. So
he was
that was
20,
his
but the
first
ages get
relationship.
worse.
The second
I always forget that's
is
what she looks
well,
like.
actually, probably the second and the third are the most well known. Probably the second one most well known to anyone who's a millennial. But he dated Lindsay Lohan, and at the time that he
Fucking
dated
Lindsay
Lindsay, it
Lohan!
was not
I
only at the
had
height of
no
his that 70s show
idea.
fame, it was at the
I'm
height of Lindsay
fucking
Lohan's
close.
fame, and she was at one stage one of the most famous people in the world. It was when Mean Girls was coming out, Herbie Fully Loaded,
How
and
old was
there
she?
just
What's
was a
your
lot of
age?
buzz around her for her going out and partying with Paris Hilton and Britney Spears. And this was
Those were
when
the
things like
days.
TMZ and stuff
Goddamn
was
me,
starting
it
to get
was
really
wild.
big, and they would go out hoping that there was going to be some incident with Lindsay Lohan or Britney or Paris Hilton. And
Oh
the
yeah, those
media
were the
at
big
this time
three.
was really, really
Britney.
cutthroat. So Lindsay was 17 when they started dating. And at the time, you know, there's interviews on things like Ellen where Lindsay would say, "Oh no, we're just really good friends." And she had this kind of trained PR line that, "Oh no, we're really good friends and he's like a brother to me." And then all of a sudden, at the stroke of midnight on her 18th birthday, they started dating.
Mhm.
But of course, years later, it
You want to add to that before we get to the third and most shocking one? Because yeah, Lindsay fucking Lohan. And keep in mind, so he dated Mandy Moore. He was 20, she was 15. Lindsay, we'll get to his age then, and then and she was 17. Like,
I just
this blew my mind because out of everybody, and this was before a lot of social media, so probably nowadays we would have caught on to this, but Fez was super low key with his bullshit because no one really paid attention to Fez. Everybody loved Fez, but you were mostly focused on Ashton Kutcher or Topher Grayson or
yeah.
Donna or Danny Masterson.
Yeah. I don't understand because that's just a running theme in Hollywood. It's like I don't understand the attraction.
So here's the thing. Okay, so if you guys don't know, Bitchy's a little bit considerably younger than me. I'm going to be reaching my golden age of 40, and let's just say Bitchy's in her 20s. Okay?
But that's
And now
different.
when we started dating, she was just getting ready to turn 21. And I was in my 30s. Now, I've been criticized to hell for this thing. It's a reason why her family doesn't particularly like me. But I
Is
will say this
that the
much.
reason? Is that the reason? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, it's one of the reasons. There's a lot of other bullshit
I'm just
reasons.
messing with you. I'm just messing.
It's a whole long saga, okay? But now here's the thing. Now that's with two, and we are two legally consenting adults in every metric. She can drink, she can drive, she can vote, she can make her own choices. And I got shit for that. Now, this man waited for these girls to turn 18 by legal standards, and that's barely legal. Like, 18 is, you are pushing it. He's literally trolling the high school, as we used to call it, for women. And, I mean, he doesn't do what Danny Masterson did, but you're
Right.
walking that fucking fine line. And then people are saying, hey, why is Topher Grayson's an asshole? Why isn't he associating with the people on the set that he's been working with all these years? I wouldn't fucking associate with these degenerate pricks either. I would come in, punch the clock, do my scenes, and get the fuck out because I'd be like, holy fucking shit, dude. There is more underage poon in here than I am comfortable with. And look, I'm sorry, that's a blunt way to put it, but I'm just being real with you guys. That's what you get on the Phantom Zone. I'm being real. This is disgusting. This is
Yeah.
sick. I mean, all jokes aside, this is some crazy shit. but it gets crazier
This is
because we
some
got one more name.
Colleen Ballinger shit.
Oh
That's what
man,
it-
like they almost make Colleen Ballinger seem like a saint,
You know,
but
and my
we
whole
took
thing
it
is
to a
this.
whole new level.
Like the whole the whole like disgusting nature of it aside, what in what world do you have anything in common with a
A
15-year-old?
Yeah, like, look, and shout outs to people who watch me. The little dictator watches me, maybe a friend of hers. They enjoy my content because I'm funny. I appreciate you, thank you. But those are my daughter's friends, and that's about where it goes. For you to engage with somebody,
Yeah.
especially at that age, it's nothing more than manipulation and power. And we're going to get into the Scientology of it because
Mhm.
that's their big thing. But it's full of people who have this thing about manipulating people. And the easiest age to manipulate is right in between that phase, between almost adult, but not really.
Yeah.
And you'll notice a pattern that he leaves them as soon as they get old enough
Yeah.
because he didn't stick around with Mandy when she grew up because she saw through his bullshit, and
Yeah.
Lindsay was a fucking wreck and saw through his shit eventually. So who
Mhm.
does he move on to? The saddest case. I could not
It's all
believe this
come
shit.
out that they actually were dating when she was
This gets
17,
crazy.
and they didn't date for very long. And when they broke
Yep.
up, Lindsay wrote a breakup song about Wilmer and recorded it in his house.
I actually
So he
remember
was
that song.
Oh, damn.
25
What
at the
song is
time
that?
that he was dating
Oh,
17-year-old
I'd have
Lindsay
to go back through,
Lohan.
but I do remember
And
that. I
she
just
was,
didn't know
as
who
I
it
said,
was
really
at the
prerogative?
going
time.
through a lot, especially with her parents,
Oh, that bitch
who
is crazy,
are
man.
just tabloid
Like,
fodder a lot of
love
the
Lindsay,
time
but
for their
kind of.
antics. And
I
I
don't blame
actually
her. I'm
know
just
it's
saying.
not
A little
like a
crazy.
publicity thing. I know at least her dad is certainly the way
That's
the
another
media
piece of shit.
portrays him, because there was a event that I was working at once where you can probably look
Oh
this
yeah,
up on
this was
Google.
about
I'll
Lindsay's
share it on the
father.
screen if I find the article.
It's interesting, but he just jumped out of this window in the hotel.
All
So
of a
her dad
sudden,
was crazy.
again, at the stroke of midnight, they started dating. And Demi Wilder
Okay, so
Valderrama, and that is Demi Lovato. This was the
Demi
biggest gap by
Lovato. If
far
anybody
because
knows
there
where
was
she's at
12
right now,
years
she's not in a
between
good
them.
place.
And
He
Demi
dated
Lovato, of course, is a really famous singer and actress from Disney Channel. And Wilmer used the exact same line with her. It was, "Oh, I'm 17, nothing can happen, we're really good friends." And then all of a sudden, again, at the
Mhm.
stroke of midnight, they started dating. And
How old
Demi,
was he?
again, was someone that was going through a very hard time. She was very vulnerable. She's been very open about her substance
That looks like
abuse. And there's a lot of
Samusgari.
stories about how poorly Wilmer treated Demi, things like saying she was more fun when she wasn't sober, and a lot of cheating allegations. But even when you're just looking at the age that Demi
So
was
listen
when
to
she
the
was
age.
dating Wilmer, he was 29 and she was 17. But 17 and
Jesus
29 is just such an
Christ.
astronomical difference. I mean, if someone was 37 and 49, that is not as different as 17 and 29, because you're still kind of in the same lifetimes and life
Mhm.
experiences.
Yep.
And I
Thank you. I
just,
100%
I
agree
mean,
with that.
I
People
don't
remember
know
before
at
you condemn
29.
people
I
who
wouldn't
date
even want to be
slightly older.
around
But anyway,
17-year-olds. So
Yeah.
I find
yes.
it just really bizarre.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they bring up these age gap relationships, and a lot of the time it is the female who is younger, but there is a lot of instances where it's the other way around too. And I think that's just as inappropriate. The
Yeah.
person that comes to mind is Aaron Taylor Johnson and Sam Taylor Johnson. That is a similar thing. Or actually, she was even older than Wilmer. So I just don't ever see what someone who is well into adulthood has in common with a teenager that should be in high school. 6 years after they broke up, Demi ended up releasing a song called 29, and most people interpreted it as a
definitely go check that
condemnation
out
of Wilmer and
because
their relationship. And when Demi was asked about the references, she just said that she thought the song says it all. Just putting this little clip in here to say, obviously, I would
Don't
love
piss
to
off
put this
I
songwriters.
love
song in
Demi. I
here
love her so
because
much.
it is so blatantly about Wilmer, and Demi is obviously saying how differently she feels now that she's 29 and sees how problematic the relationship was. But just because of YouTube copyright, you can't even put in like 2 seconds of a song, otherwise it'll be claimed like that. So you'll see lyrics on the screen. That's the best way I can kind of share how obvious this is, that this is about Wilmer,
That's
and
crazy.
how
Like,
inappropriate
yeah,
Demi now realizes the relationship was.
Danny.
Hello, let me tell you about my new obsession,
Um,
AFK Journey. AFK Journey is
So, do you want to end this
the
here
first
before we
strategic
get into
card
it, or is it
RPG
kind of
that
quick?
3D.
We could end this here because Danny Masterson actually goes into the Scientology of it.
Yeah, it'll be a beast to talk about. I don't. If we can't do that in 15 minutes, I'm sure.
No, we cannot. But this is just a little preview of what I was hoping to get into. So, what did you think of the subject? I know you were nervous. You didn't know what I was going to throw at you, but
Well, because you're unexpected. Like, you're always unpredictable. I never know.
I like to keep everyone on their toes. That's what
Yeah.
makes the channel special.
I think it's good, and I think it's really important. I know you said you heard me earlier, but I would really like to spread more awareness about the Scientology protest that is happening, about the people that have actually. Daisy, what are you doing? Sorry, my dog is just like scratching the hell out of her bed over here. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, so I listed a couple people to follow up on in the chat. I will list them again. But there's actual like Scientology life with after a cult. Because my whole thing is there are people in there that are being mistreated, and we need to get them out, or Scientology needs to change. And I think it's a wonderful, beautiful thing that I'm seeing happening on YouTube, where they're going through and they're protesting. Sorry, they're protesting. They're protesting Scientology, and they're trying to make sure that they spread the word. And I think the more people that have eyes on it, the less that Scientology is going to be able to hide. They've been able to hide thus far, but their whole demeanor. Last I knew, it's been, like I said, it's been a couple months because this whole Diddy thing blew up, which is a whole nother fucking, like BJ Investigate says, the web is webbing all over the fucking place. And but last I knew, the Scientology facade was starting to crumble a little bit under all of the pressure that these protests have brought. And it's like a nationwide, maybe even worldwide thing that's happening. I'm not really sure. But I think that if you follow these people that I'm going to list in the chat, follow them if you like their content. Obviously, I'm not going to try and force you to follow them, but if you like their content, subscribe to it and really help pass the message along, because there's just so many people that that come from Scientology that are just like, that shit's fucked up. And the little bit I've heard, I've only scraped the surface really, and I'm so disgusted, appalled. The behavior is abhorrent. Like, it's, I just, I can't even. And the problem is Scientology is connected into fucking everything. Fucking everything. And that's fucking terrifying.
And I'm going to get into that when we dig into Danny Masterson, because like I said, there's a lot of other people that kind of start to get into this story. And if you guys don't know, the smartest thing Scientology did was connect itself into Hollywood, because Hollywood is quite powerful. Not so much anymore with these stories coming out. They're starting to lose their grip, I think, on a lot of the sway that they hold. But this is something that got me, because I always was curious about what happened with that 70 Show's cast, and hearing the things. And don't you worry, we're gonna get. They even Leah Remy gets a little cameo in this video too, because I did not realize this, but her season final for one of the seasons for the Scientology thing she does, like escaping Scientology, that whole show, leads to the Danny Masterson trial, and she actually has a big part to play in that, which I had no fucking clue when I was covering it until now. But she had the victims on her show talking about what happened, and it gets really fucking interesting. And so, yes, I am going to break this up into different parts and do this as a different series as we go through this. And then at the end, I want to do an overall view and then dive more into the Scientology and give some background, how it started, the different beliefs and things like that, and then show you the rampant sexism, the uh, the way that they kind of almost govern themselves. They don't believe in getting police involved. They handle it internally, if you want to call it that. They have these things called reconditioning, where the victim is to blame
Yep.
because everything, their belief in Scientology is if you get hit by a fucking bus, it's your fault. Everything
Yep.
falls on you. But it's kind of interesting because when you flip it to the males, that's a whole different program. That's a whole different conditioning. There's a different. It's almost like taking different religious things into a hodgepodge and throwing in the ideas that work. The sort of uh, the rampant sexism, uh, the dominating nature between male and female, and that the male should dominate. There's a lot of fucked up shit, and we're gonna dive deep into it. But I wanted to open with this because this was the thing where I saw that, and just that thing with that one actor alone, I was like, holy shit, that explains so much. And he went through every woman that had some kind of psychological issue going on, except for Mandy Moore. She has escaped by relatively unscathed, and she's super nice, and I think she toes a very fine line. But in Hollywood, she's just kind of been there. She was a singer, became an actress. Walk to Remember is a fucking masterpiece.
Yes.
Greatest
Like I said, I always forget that she looks like that.
She has not fucking aged a day. She still fucking looks like that. It's got to be some kind of witchcraft. Anyways, I get off topic when I start to talk about Mandy Moore.
Every time when I hear Mandy Moore, this is what I think. I think A Walk to Remember and Tangled.
Oh,
That's Mandy
fucking!
Moore to me.
Oh my god, I would have never saw Tangled until I saw Mandy Moore was on it. I was like, "Yep, going to see that." She's just, and even her real life persona. Look, I don't know if that's her in real life. She could be a complete bitch, but from all accounts I've heard, she's the sweetest, nicest fucking person in the world. Even when defending herself against allegations, she just carries herself in a particular way. So I think she skated by okay. Fez was kind of a passing phase or whatever. He was the hot new thing, and she got over it. She doesn't give a shit now. She's living her best life.
Yeah.
But Lindsay Lohan and Demi Lovato, that was clear manipulation because they were both at the weakest points in their lives. And that's something I'm going to highlight as we get into everyone in this cast. Because even Donna, everybody loves Donna from that 70s show. She is something else. Wait till I get to that story. She was actually intimidating people for Scientology. Like the shit gets
Really?
why? Yes, she threatened one of Danny Masterson's victims when they were doing their little victim thing, like the reconditioning they call it. She threatened this girl in the hallway if she ever went public with her claims. Like the shit is wild, and we're gonna jump into it. And I got even more shit on Scientology, and you can bring notes too, and you can we could show some clips from your stuff too, because this is very important to highlight. Because when I covered Nexium, I did it because I love Smallville, and I never knew Chloe was in a fucking cult. But Nexium ideas splintered from Scientology. So Scientology has bred, and let's be real, folks, I'm going to call it like I see it. It's a fucking cult. It's not ritualistic sacrificing. And when people hear cult, they get the wrong idea in their mind. Cult isn't just Jim Jones, drink the Kool-Aid and everybody dies, and self-sacrifice. Cult is a mindset. It is control. It is one person or an organization of people at the top of the fucking pyramid that are forcing people, and I say forcing because that's what they're doing, and conditioning them into a way of life that is not conducive to how human beings should be living, and subjugating them 90% of the time and forcing them into this lifestyle. And no matter how you slice it, a cult can be exactly what Scientology is, which is they set up their own rules, they govern themselves, and they do things outside of the law. And look, the law isn't perfect, but at the end of the day, as fair as we're going to get is what we have in our justice system. Rules and regulations from outside sources, because when you get people internally to do those, there's biases, there's payoffs, there's all sorts of shit happening behind the scenes. And in theory, some of these are good ideas. Like, I'm not gonna lie, some of what they're saying, and that's the whole point, right? The things that they're saying appear good.
Yeah.
Hell, I bet you being a Nazi appeared good to a lot of people. Look how that shit turned out.
Yep.
None of these inherently are bad ideas or socialism or any of that, right? It's not inherently a bad idea. The bad idea is giving one person or giving these group of people so much power inevitably turns bad and it
Yep.
goes south. And these things can't thrive. They can't be allowed to continue. And Scientology is just one of a long list of shitty things come along that has thrived in being in the shadows and gaining influence and gaining power. They have government officials, churches, high-ranking offices. Hell,
LAPD.
there's LAPD can be brought by anyone. I never include them in these conversations. If you have the right money, you can pay off anyone in the LAPD. They're about as fucking corrupt. They've been corrupt since the 90s.
Even before that, probably.
You could give an LAPD officer a good fucking piece of candy and you can have someone's ass whooped. I'm sorry, that's a terrible joke, but it's fucking true. The LAPD is corrupt. They've been corrupt for years. They just go from one organization to the other. Whoever could pay them the most fucking money, and I'm not making conjunction, you'll see when we get to Scientology, but whoever pays them the most fucking money is the winner that week. And they'll turn on you just as fast if they get paid more.
Yep.
And that's the problem. When there's cracks in our system, people like this and groups like this will take advantage. Didn't they try to get some kind of they got some kind of exemptions for being considered a religious organization? If I'm not, if I'm remember that correctly, yeah. So this goes very deep, and we will be covering this. So Jackie, how you feel about this? Are you ready to go? We're gonna try to take down Scientology single-handedly.
I mean, I ain't trying to take nobody down. I just want to spread awareness. Y'all, you can do your little takedown over there, Mr. Villain. I am everyone's favorite protagonist.
Okay, I'm a villain and I'm looking to hang some heads on wooden pikes because that's what Zod does. If you come in the Phantom Zone, I have the heads of my enemies resting very comfortably on big wooden pikes just like the good old days. I was friends with Vlad. Me and Count Vlad go back a couple of 100 years.
I would actually believe that if you just one day told me that you were a vampire.
Who do you think gave him the impaling idea? I was like, Vlad, buddy, if you really want to make this a go, you're already cutting motherfuckers' heads off. Just put them on spikes, hang them outside your walls. Good to go. You send a strong message.
I mean, for real though, I think that, like I said earlier, the more eyes on this whole Scientology protest and the more we can get the word out there and get more subscribers to these other channels, including ours, obviously. Because why not?
Yes,
you know, I think it'll because it's important, and it's shit like this that if we can bind together over something like this, like, because this is huge. This is a huge undertaking. Like y'all understand. You'll see, like BJ says, the web is webbing all over the fucking place. And once we start getting into the nooks and crannies, and we start showing you what we are seeing, it's fucking terrifying. It's terrifying. And if we could start working together to, not just Scientology, just in general, but like I feel like things could start to change because right now everybody is so just like in their phones. So why don't we use that as a way to be like, hey, there's real shit popping off. We need your help, like we have so much power, you know. I just I just want there to be love, light, and kindness in the world, and I want everyone to circle it right back the fuck around from the beginning. Like, I want everyone to just get along and not subdue or control or manipulate other people. Like, it is freaking 2024. Why are we still trying to fight amongst ourselves when we could really start uplifting common ground and taking down anybody that threatens, peace or stability? Like, I don't know. I'm not over here like, oh, I want to change the world. But like at the same time, I'm like, there are so many things that we could be doing that actually fucking matters that like we just don't do. Like we just don't do it. Like,
I forgot who said it, but someone once said that the smallest change starts with a kernel of truth.
yeah,
And that always stuck to me. And if I was a philosophical villain, I would remember who the fuck said it. But the quote is what is important. The
exactly.
quote is what stayed with me because it is true that if look, you don't have to. I firmly believe just two people talking amongst themselves to two or three people, or to 5 or 6 or 10. There's some kind of power in that because then
Mhm.
they talk to people and be like, "I saw this fucking crazy stream. You should check it out about this Scientology thing. I didn't think it was a big deal, but holy shit, there's some real shit happening." Because at the end of the day, you got to look at this like, look, maybe our kids aren't Hollywood stars, but your kid could run into one of these Hollywood stars. They could
Yep.
bump into them. Conventions and things are a thing. Shows that people go through. And I'm going to get into this more when we dive deeper into the video, but these famous celebrities and stars were doing shit at shows, at parties, at events that they went to, fucking poker games and signings. And it takes it to a level that anybody can be a victim. It does not matter. That is the whole definition of being being a victim of what these people do is. That's where they count on it. Their fans, the people who are loyal to them. And so just having that awareness, you could potentially put that knowledge into your head. And then if you have a kid or someone has a child or they know someone who's into that shit, you could be like, hey, maybe you don't want to idolize this person.
Yep.
Because the thing is, since the dawn time, we've always idolized these celebrities and stars and athletes and musical talent and all of this. But at the end of the day, as I always say, we're all human, except for me, I'm Kryptonian,
Yeah.
a little bit different, but we're all human.
I think I'm a little bit of a fae. I don't know.
We all have people we look up to because of the things they've achieved or how they look or whatever, or we like their song or we like their acting, and we forget that at the end of the day they are still human. They still have flaws and
Mhm.
weaknesses, and they're still people who make mistakes, and some of them make big fucking mistakes that never get corrected because of their position. And these people should be called out because that could be you getting that phone call. That could be you finding out your niece, nephew, hell, your daughter, or somebody was in this situation with this person. And maybe you inspire people to step forward who met these people and had an experience. Danny Masterson was going around to different signings and events and dropping shit in drinks, and the joke used to be never leave your drink around him.
Yeah.
Just think
Well,
about that.
yeah.
Random fucking people he was dropping shit in their drinks. No one really knows the number of victims. So far, 5. But there is a suggestion that there is a hell of a lot more than that. So you go to a party, spike a drink, and nobody would say shit. And that is
Yeah.
scary because that just doesn't mean it was starlets and these people who came forward. It was normal fucking people who could have been fans
Yeah.
that went to his house, thinking they were going to get to meet Danny Masterson, get an autograph, hang out with the cool guy Hyde from that 70s show, chill, maybe smoke something, drink something.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't remember what happened the next day. This is the things that proves it doesn't matter. Their station doesn't matter. You still may interact with them. And that could
Mhm.
happen to you or to someone you know. And
Yep.
it's good to bring awareness to these things. I mean, because meeting up celebrities is not as hard as it used to be. Back in the
Mm-mm.
day, very few people knew about conventions and shit like that. Only nerds and things like that, right?
Yep.
You were a nerd if you went to a Star Trek convention or
Mm-hmm.
you went to an anime convention or anything
Mhm.
like that.
It's
Now it's fucking
funny.
common.
It's funny that you say that about the spiking drinks thing because part of maybe I'll show this clip after we start getting into the Masterson stuff. On Down the Rabbit Hole News, she was talking about a couple months ago. There's a restaurant right across the street from the Hollywood Celebrity Center Scientology building, and he used to go to that restaurant with people, and based on what I remember, those people are complicit in his scheme. Like like they knew he would be coming in and they would make sure that they kept the drinks going and they I just and like the owner of that restaurant is like best friends with Masterson. And so it was like this whole the web is fucking webbing. Like BJ is not fucking lying. Like when she says that shit. But
No,
it's time to
and
go.
the thing is too in this video they do bring that up. That it's not I know what you're talking about because they bring that up as well.
Mhm.
And his brother, according to what I heard, was a piece of shit too. Uh, and he was I forget who he was married to for a while, but he was very abusive piece of shit
Mhm.
as well. And there's a lot of allegations with him, but he kind of dropped from that scene to get out of the limelight after Malcolm in the Middle. But like, yeah, I mean, the whole thing, they are wrapped up deep in Scientology, like deep. They got a lot of people wrapped up in it too. Pretty
Mhm.
much damn near that whole 70s show cast. Even fucking Red and Kitty, they
Yep.
are believed to be wrapped up in that as well. And Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher, they're not confirmed, but they got something on them because they're always at the shows. Like, it's not, they're not like part of it, but they're at all the events. They sent letters for Masterson. So I think they have something on them. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I think that
Mhm.
they got something on them and that's why they stick so close in that circle, or that's
Mhm.
what's rumored. So this is a long rabbit hole that can't be
Yeah.
explained in an hour and 30 minutes.
I
So
gotta go.
Jay, thank you for joining me
Yeah.
through this torrential thunderstorm. Hopefully my power doesn't go out while I watch
Yeah.
Railing
Could you like
Givens.
text me in a couple days so I know that you're alive? Just
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just doing my thing. Look, when you are watching your show in a cowboy hat because you're trying to be like Raylan Givens, the best fucking protagonist. And I like him because he's not really a protagonist. He's more of a anti-hero.
anti-hero.
Yeah. And so I can do anti-heroes because I understand them a lot more. And I like that whole he'll just shoot you as opposed to talk to you because that's how real heroing should be done. But anyways, watch season 2 video coming out tomorrow.
Mhm.
Anyways, that is the point.
Buy my book.
The point the point is buy her book. Um
Alright, love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. I dropped a couple links to a bunch of channels for you guys to check out. No pressure. If you like their content, please subscribe. They're covering very important issues that a lot of people are just ignorant to. And yeah, love you guys. And I will talk to you later. I gotta hop off of here so that I can go to bed.
So, anyways, yeah, and I'm gonna continue my journey on watching Justified. I'm on season 4, so wish me luck. Um, but anyways, thank you everybody for watching, and yeah, we will be back with you guys at a time. you know, maybe it'll just be a random stream. Maybe we'll actually fucking plan it. Who knows? This is the Phantom
knows?
Zone. You know, you never know what you're gonna get. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. And as always, remember, there's only one rule here in the Phantom Zone.
I wouldn't. This topic, no.
No, I was gonna say, don't put your drink down next to Danny Masterson.
Good, because this topic
No.
was not the place.
No, there was I was doing that show Baby Reindeer, and I was like, well, fuck, I can't say Neil before Zod. That's just it's grossly
Yep.
inappropriate right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, good night, everybody.
Bye.